Alright, what's up guys, it's Minx, and this is probably the 20th time I've tried to do this. I keep running different issues, things coming up in the middle of it, because this first one's going to be a longer video. Future ones won't be as long regardless, as this one's going to just go from nothing to having a fully hosted lobby. Not like people joining anything, but this is setup project, initialize, set up main menu, host lobby, set up little lobby screen, at least temporary one that we can see that like it's set up, and then we're good for this video, because in the next videos I want to start doing joining and stuff like that. With that in mind, I do have a real quick question before we get into anything. Do you like the longer form videos, or do you prefer something like this that's going to probably be like an hour long versus 10 to 20 minute videos that break a single topic into multiple parts? So let me know down in the comments. I will leave a comment down there requesting this information as well. There's also chapters here, so we're going to really quickly do a brief overview of the series, just the series in general, and then we're going to go to project setup, and then we're going to start setting up the code. So just look down below if you're wanting to skip any of the boring stuff. Like right now, we're going to go through some boring stuff like version, what will be covered and everything. If you already know, then you're fine. So let's go into the versions first. This is what I'm going to be using, the latest version of Godot, GodotSteam, the latest GD extension, 4.17. That uses ThemeWorks SDK 1.63, and then unfortunately I'm still stuck on Windows. That should be changing hopefully soon, I wish, but there's some things holding me back that I can't leave Windows quite yet for. But that's what we're using. So if you're using a slightly different version, I say slightly, if you're on like Godot 3, you're going to see differences in how things work. Generally speaking, if you're on Godot 4, especially 4.4 or later, you're not going to run into any real issues with doing, with having to do something differently. And then I think the same thing applies to the OS. I don't think you have any issues depending, regardless of which OS you're on. Maybe some minor differences. What are we going to do in this series? So there's a lot we're going to do. This isn't really in an exact order. I just kind of listed off things as they came to mind. So like I mentioned, in this video, we're going to do the initial project setup. We are ultimately going to have a server browser. There's like a bajillion Steam server browser tutorials on the internet, and this one is not going to be particularly special. Now, if you're familiar with like how like you would set it up with like the advanced lobbies in Unreal Engine, we have a little bit more that we get to do with it in here, kind of, and I'll explain when we go through it. Like, well, maybe I might forget, but there's some things that we get to do in here that are pretty cool that allow us to do it our own way and make some modifications. So we're going to see that. We're going to have a full invite system with a fallback if the one type of invite fails. So you've got your inside the game invites where you pull up an in-game friends list and you hit the invite button on your friend, and then it invites them to the game if they are in the game as well. So if, let's say they're at the main menu, a little pop-up toast thing will pop up, and then you can hit that and it'll send it over to them in their game, and it'll pop up there and they can accept it. If they are not in game, it'll show up in their Steam menu, just as if you sent it outside outside in the shift tab overlay, or right clicked in the friends list, whatever, sent it that way. So all of that's going to be available, full rich present setup and everything. We're going to do lobby hosting, of course. That's actually going to be done in this video. The startings of the lobby, technically lobby settings kind of get done in this video, but not fully, like a basic version. So when the lobby first starts, it gets done, as well as syncing them, because lobby settings are a little different than normal like peer-to-peer replication. We do have the basic peer-to-peer replication that we're going to do. So once we got everything in a lobby, we're going to send it over to a new scene that's a game. Technically, not really. It's not going to really have anything. And we're just going to replicate a variable, make sure everything works. And as part of that, we are going to be dealing with the callbacks. Steam is very callback. The SDK is very callback oriented. There's a lot of callback systems that we need to deal with. So we're going to be dealing with that. We're going to be reading documentation. We're going to do that a few times this video. In fact, we're actually going to, the first time we open it up, I'm going to explain how to read the documentation. So that way, if you want to go off on your own and do your own stuff, you could do that as soon as this video. And then we are going to do a test environment with Sandbox E+ to test that lobby joining works. We're not going to do that in this particular video, but we will do that in the series. It allows us to have two Steam clients, two instances of the game running on the same machine, and allows them to connect without conflicting. And then what aren't we going to do in this tutorial? No advanced UI concepts, so we're not gonna do like we're not gonna make everything pretty. It's all pretty much gonna be gray boxed, but everything will be functional. We're not gonna do any version control, so we're not setting up Git or anything like that. And then no actual game logic. This is just at this point a Steam tutorial. Peer-to-peer networking is not. There's nothing unique about the way Steam handles it when you're in a game. So at the moment, there's no point in going there. If it turns out that we ultimately want to go down that path once we're done with the all the lobby stuff, then we can. But for now, it's unnecessary. So that's it for this little PowerPoint. I'll go ahead and just close out of it. Like I mentioned, this is like the I exaggerated. I've done this a few times over the past week. This was supposed to come out last weekend, and then work and everything just kind of hit me over the weekend. It's like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just do it this weekend, and here we are. So we'll go ahead and open up Godot, and we'll do a new project, and I'll just say Steam tutorial project, and documents is fine. Any settings here you set are fine. It's not going to hurt anything. There used to be, I don't know if there still is, an issue with the render and showing like the shift tab menu, but that's not super important for us, and it can always be changed anyway. So I'll go ahead and create. And as far as setup goes, let's go ahead and get GodotSteam installed, because that's just one time we go to the asset library. You can also download it from the website, and I'll show you kind of like what the project structure should look like, so that way if you do, you can install it the correct way. But we just want to type in Steam up here, and GD extension 4.4 plus, download, and install. That's the easiest way to do it. There, you can download it from the website, and you can import the zip, or you can manually make the add-ons folder, GodotSteam, and drag it in there. As long as you don't have any access issues, you should be fine. If you do, you can go to the output and look at what it says, and you can typically fix it by Googling the error, doing a little bit of troubleshooting. But that's actually it for installing it. We'll test it. We'll make sure it works in a few seconds once we get the scripts, our script editor running. And that's actually the next step. Is let's go ahead and hook up VS Code real quick. So go to editor settings. Now, because I have 4.5.1 installed and it was already set up, it was installed or set up from the get-go. We're gonna want to make sure we select advanced settings, turn that on, and then find the text editor external. And firstly, make sure it's turned on. We want to make sure that the exec flags are, I'll copy and paste these into the description for you, set them up so you can copy and paste them. And then the exec path is the path to the executable for the code editor that you want to use. Brief note, probably should have led with this. You don't have to use VS Code. That's the one I'm using. You can use whichever one you want, any other third-party tool, or you can use Godot's editor built in. It's really just about the experience that you want while developing. There's going to be no difference in the actual code itself, so you can do what you want there. And then the exec flags, just so I kind of glossed over them. It's just basically telling the code editor what exactly you want to do, rather than just say open this code editor for this when we send this over. So it's just getting a little more verbose. Project, file, line in that file, column in that line. And that's pretty much it for the editor stuff. Now Godot will open a instance of VS Code for us, or open VS Code's file in there if it's already open. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and just set up our project structure. So outside of add-ons, just right click on res, create a folder. I'm gonna call this scenes, and then another one for scripts. Because this is just a tutorial series, I'm not gonna go like super in depth. Maybe we will when we get to like invites and stuff and separating things out, so that way we don't have like a bajillion scripts in one folder location, because that'll end up happening. It's a scripting language, right? We do a lot with just individual scripts, so we just end up with a bunch of little things. But for now, we're just gonna have the scripts and scenes. Go ahead, and if you've already got a project set up, you're fine. You don't have to follow along. All of this is not like set in stone stuff. The important thing that we want to learn or get from this is the functionality behind, or the functionality of the SDK. So this is not going to break anything. But we want to do a user interface for this one, or I do. This is going to be the main menu, so I'm going to rename it to main menu. And then I'm going to go ahead and Control S to save. I'm going to change it to main menu. I hate snake case. I'll use it for the variables because it's the convention, but for my files, I'm not doing snake case. And I'll save that in scenes. And then with that scene added in there and selected, I'm just going to hit play so that it makes us select the current to load once the game runs. So it just means the main menu is the first scene that loads when the game opens. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and create our first script. I'm not going to attach it to main menu because I don't want it loading on the main menu. It's ultimately going to be a global singleton load. So it's going to load with the game. And we're going to call it Steam client. Now the reason for that is this script's going to persist beyond shit. Hold on. Close out of VS Code. Sorry. Okay, got put in scripts. This script is going to persist beyond scenes, and it's going to store information that we'll need beyond scenes. For example, it's going to store Steam ID, lobby ID. It's going to be checking for the callbacks and all that stuff. And we don't want it to be destroyed and recreated on scene loads and stuff like that. That's just stupid. Anyway, going back into it, I thought I'd put it in the wrong folder. Go ahead and open up VS Code or your code editor. And for those using VS Code, we have an add-on called Godot Tools. You can see it popping up down here for me. Because I have it installed, I'm going to select my Godot executable for my desktop and reload it. And if you don't have it, you're going to want to find these 4 squares with one kind of being diagonal and just type in Godot. And it'll be the first thing that comes up, GodotSteam, and install. And you can do the settings if you need to change anything. There's tutorials on how to hook up your Godot with VS Code. There might be a couple of things that you want to do beyond just installing this tools as well as hooking it up from Godot. So that's probably worth checking out, but there's nothing else that we're gonna do in this tutorial with that that I can think of. And really quickly, because the first time when you first hook it up, or like what I did where I had to select the executable, it says it's connected, but it's not really connected. And the way I know this is if I close my VS Code right now, Godot stays open. And when you close VS Code with it properly hooked up to your Godot, it will actually force Godot to close, or it will close it, not force it to close. It'll just close it. So if we open it up now, and just because I'm a masochist and want to show you, if we close out of VS Code. Oh, I made a mistake. If you open VS Code and open your Godot instance from it, so disconnected, open workspace with the Godot editor. Here we go. This is how you know it's working. Now, if I close my VS Code, it'll close it. And that's right, I forgot. When I do my with my workspace, if you open VS Code first, it will create that workspace, and it just works a lot better. And this also makes your problems work a little better. Sometimes you'll get some weird issues where like this will pop up twice and you'll fix it once and then the other one just won't go away. This is how you fix it. You open VS Code first. And then one last problem to solve is this little AI chat thing. I don't even have Copilot installed, so I'm not sure why it tries to do that. Or maybe I do. I don't have the add-on installed, so I guess I have it installed somewhere else. I'm not really sure, but we're not going to need it for this. The Godot code that we produce will be much better than what the AI will. Or maybe, I don't know. Let's go ahead and actually get into, firstly, we can actually test that Steam is installed, GodotSteam. So if you just type in the word Steam, and you get like 3 Steam options here, or even just one, honestly, Steam Multiplayer Peer, Packet Peer. The big important one that we're going to need first is Steam. So as long as you get that one, you should be fine for a while. But you should be getting all 3. As long as you're getting that, you're fine. If you're getting only like Stream and things that are not Steam, then GodotSteam is not installed. It's not picking up on it. Firstly, you want to make sure your project structure is correct. GodotSteam is in the add-ons and it looks like this. And if it is there correctly, next up you want to check for errors down on the output. If you're not seeing anything there, you're going to want to go ahead and project reload current project. If you're still not seeing it, go ahead and just delete it and try again. And then if you can't figure it out, do it from here. If you can't do it from here, you're going to have to do some research, because at that point you're on your own, pal. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and start writing some code. The first code is really basic. There's really not a lot to it. So let's go ahead and just The first ones are going to be some initialization stuff. So we got a is initialized is equal to false. And I don't know how in depth we need to go on like explaining certain concepts like this one. I'll go ahead and start off just explaining stuff as I go, whatever I think might be reasonable to explain. If you think I'm doing too much, just let me know. So you have a few ways to initialize a variable. Not to be confused with the fact that this is called initialize, but actually initialize. So we have the Pythonic way, which is this, right, where we say var is equal to value, in this case false. We can say, and what that is, the Pythonic way allows you to change the type dynamically. It's dynamically typed. If we say colon equals false, that removes the dynamic typing implicitly, and says, okay, it's a type bool because the value we assigned it to is a bool, and we can't change it now. Then we have the more verbose way of doing that. So is initialized with a D at the end, excuse me, is of type, is colon type, in this case bool, equal to value, false. And this is the same thing as saying colon equals, but we're explicitly telling it that it's a bool. This is going to be the way that we do it in the series. And then you have the option to cut out the initial assignment, the actual initialization of a value, and just say the type, and then we can set it later. Like I said, we're going to try and do an assignment, a full colon type equals assignment each time. But you can do it any of the ways, they will all work. I just think having I'm used to typed languages, so it's a lot easier to stick with that convention. We're going to do a var, not a car, a var. Steam ID is colon int equal to 0. And then a const app ID is an int equal to 480. And this is the test app ID provided by Steam. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with that. If you're not, it's just a app ID that Steam gives you to pass in and initialize as. It's called Space War. And it allows you to test Steamwork functionality, like we will here, without paying the $100 to have your own app ID. And that's going to be it for the moment. We'll add stuff here later as we need it. And it's a const, meaning app ID can't change. So we can't go in and say app ID equals 500 now. It's going to give us an error because it is a constant. Okay. So next up, we want to go ahead and set an environment variable. Brief note, actually, this is a good sort of stopping point to explain that. So you have a couple ways to set how Steam sees your app ID. The first way is in code, like we're going to do in this particular video series. The next option is via a file that gets placed in the directory of the executable when it's launched. So we could do a steam_appid.txt file inside of the executable folder and launch it with that. It'll just have 480 in it, and that's it, and it will launch that way. That's generally the preferred way, because then when you just put your code into production, so you compile and everything and upload it to Steam through the pipe, it'll take care of that. You don't need the file in there, and then Steam injects it, which sets the environment variables, which is how we're doing via code. And then the third option, which is technically the same as setting the environment variables, if you go to your project settings down into Steam initialization, you get the app ID here. We can type it in here. I think we can do two of these at once. We just can't do embed callbacks and initialize. So we do like app ID and initialize, and then call the embed callbacks. Or we could do the app ID and embed callbacks. I think we could do that, but ultimately we're not going to use any of it in this series. You can do what you'd like to initialize. It's not really something that gets intertwined with anything else. As long as you're initialized, everything else will work. And have callbacks running. As long as you have both of those somehow, then everything else will work. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to call os.setEnvironment, and it's going to be Steam app ID, all first letter caps, and that's going to take the string of our app ID variable. And because it's easier to do this, I'm just going to copy and paste it and change the Steam app ID string to Steam game ID. This is not something you found, or that I found directly in documentation, such as like, hey, you set these two environment variables. I'm assuming someone found it by looking at environment variables for the for an app, or the or for a Godot app specifically, maybe. that was launched through Steam and found that these are the environment variables set. As far as how we came to the same conclusion to doing this, or how it ended up getting over to me, is if you open up the GodotSteam, you can go to the website and then go to documentation. Actually, you don't even need to open documentation because we're going to search it. In this case, I'm just going to type in Steam game ID, or Steam app ID, excuse me, I think is the one that works better for this to get to it. Yeah, tutorials initializing Steam. Yeah, I ended up looking through here and found it here. And this is the one that I like to use because I don't know, it just seemed to work nicely for me. Looks like Botlander is the one that actually found it. So he's the one who did that, and now we kind of use it. So there's a few other ways to do it. Like I said, looks like they've got all the different options in here. Like I mentioned, you can open this up and follow this instead of this series for the initialization. You'll get to the same result. There's really nothing super unique. So we set the environment variables. Next up, we want to actually initialize. So we haven't actually initialized Steam. It's just there's Steam code in here, but it doesn't actually do anything. So I'm going to write out the function, and then we're going to look at the documentation. This is where we're actually going to learn how to read the documentation. So if you type in steam.steam init x, this is a function. This will run all by itself, and if everything's good, it'll just simply work. There's nothing else that we have to do to get this to work, technically speaking. Now, if something's wrong, and this gives an error, we're not handling it. We are really not doing anything, and at that point, the game may as well just crash because it's gonna not work right. So let's go ahead and look at the documentation for it. It's in a couple places. It's in main and main server, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. We're going to look at the main one because it's just nicer. Ultimately, if you didn't know about Steam Init X, you could follow that tutorial. You could go look at the Steam SDK. There's a few different places, but since we know where it is, we're fine to continue. So there's actually two, Steam Init and Steam Init X. The only difference is what they return. Steam Init is older, if I'm not mistaken. It's legacy. It still works the same, but it only returns a boolean for whether it was successful or not. Which is generally enough. You really only care whether or not it was successful. Steam Init X is, I assume X stands for explicit, is going to give us a little bit more information and is therefore nicer. So let's actually really quickly just go over how we read this. It's pretty straightforward. If you've programmed before, this is not going to be new information to you. So we have up here the function name, and then we have the parameters. It takes a uint32t app ID and then a bool embed callbacks. uint32t is just an unsigned 32-bit integer. You'll also see a lot of unsigned or uint30 or 64t's, which are just unsigned 64-bit integers. As far as Godot is concerned, all of our ints are by default 64-bit. I don't think I've ever had to worry about the type in Godot. So whether you see uint32 or uint64, just int, that's all you care about. And then bool is of course true or false. We can see here that these have equals to a value. So what that means is it has a default value and you don't have to provide anything. So if you look at our code, we haven't provided anything, and like I said, this will run fine. It just means it's going to use 0 by default and false by default. You can pass in anything that you'd like as long as it meets the requirements. An app ID, probably not anything, but you could pass in true if you wanted to. If we scroll up to skipping Steam Init to set serverless request, you can see that this, does not have a default value, and therefore this function would require that we provide it the parameter that it needs. So it will not run without this, it'll toss an error. So just keep that in mind. You'll know what you need based on how the parameters look, whether you have to do this. And keep in mind, just because it has a default value doesn't mean you should let it do the default value. For example, maybe we want to provide our app ID. Maybe we want to initialize with our app ID inside of here rather than doing the environment variable. It's really just dependent on what you need to do with it and what it has. It explains these a little more in depth here, just what they are used for. Some cases this is really helpful because it might have a mildly ambiguous name. That's fine. Next up, we can see what it returns, the dictionary. Or a dictionary, excuse me, the dictionary is crazy. So when it says it returns this, it is basically saying that it is equal to that type, and we can do dictionary stuff on it once it returns that value. So we can see it here. we could literally do a dictionary calls status. We could print this out if we wanted to. And when you run it like this, it will run this function. So this function runs, and then whatever comes out gets basically put in here. So let's say our status is, shoot, where'd it go? Here we go. So let's say our status is 0 here. It returns a 0, meaning it was success. This is literally the same as doing, not exactly the same, but just give me a moment here. Print, or running that and then putting a 0 in here. It's just handling that programmatically as opposed to us manually typing it out like this. So that's a good way to think about it. And then this you can say is a variable. So we could say var a equals a int equals this, and then a. Not quite. Oh yeah, I meant this. But that's kind of how that works, if that makes sense. So with that in mind, we don't want to just simply run that and call off of it directly. We're going to populate a variable with the result of this and then use that information. Moving on, so inside of the dictionary, it's going to tell us what this returns inside of the dictionary. The things on the left here are keys. These are the names of how we access what's at that memory location. So when I was putting status here, I was looking for this key, and it will give us whatever is inside of that key. So a Steam API init result enum, whatever the value of that is, or verbal string. Let me just get rid of this again. Okay, now Steam API init result is not like a built-in type to the Godot language, so as a result, they give us a definition of what that is. And anything that is not a what do you say, a primitive, so like a string, an int, bool, things like that, that are made by the developers of the Steam SDK, they're gonna have the some sort of definition somewhere that we can look at. So we know it's a Steam API init result, and the table of contents, we find the enums, Steam API init result here. Okay, and we can see that our options are 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 options total. Okay is our standard case. And what an enum is basically is it's a variable assigned to a value, basically, at the simplest level. It's really that simple. So saying something is equal to Steam API init result okay is the same as saying something is equal to 0, at least at the moment. It's a little better to use the name rather than a hard-coded value for a few reasons. Firstly, if it ever changes, you've got it. It's already updated. You don't have to go in and update the values. It's just updated because you use the name. And then the other thing is it's more verbose. It explains it, or it's more explicit. It explains it. So it's like, okay, we're looking for it to be okay here, or we're not looking for it to be okay. We're looking for a version mismatch specifically, so we can tell them to update, something like that. Without having to like go through it and see what does this mean, having lookup tables like this, we don't have to refer back to it because we know what we're looking for. So with that in mind, we know what we're doing here with it now. We've kind of got all the information. Let's go ahead and write some code. So we're going to say var init result equals steam init ex, and the correct capitalization. And then we're actually going to, because I said we're going to be explicit, we're going to say dictionary, and then if init result, and we're going to do status is equal to steam.api. I already forgot what it was, and this is why we do that, so we don't. Steam API init result. Okay. And we're just going to pass here for a moment so I can talk about a couple things. I know we're kind of stopping a lot here. We stop a lot less as we get further through this, but at the beginning, I just wanted to make sure we got everything under our, we got a good understanding of how this SDK works. So that way, in the future, we can do stuff a little faster. So we can see here, we're saying it's equal to Steam API init result okay. We can see it's a const equal to 0. So this is literally the same as saying equal to 0, like I mentioned. One thing we want to adjust here is say not equal to, And the reason for that, this is a sort of coding convention to avoid nesting. If we say it's equal to 0 or okay, that means it's the pass, meaning everything that we do for the rest of this function is going to be nested in this section, unless we do something goofy like pass it to another function or something like that stupid. It's going to be nested. It doesn't need to be nested. Only the fail conditions need to be nested here temporarily, and then the rest we can say like here we know at this point down here that is initialized is true, so we can actually set it to true, because this is the there's only one passing case, and that's if we're meeting that passing case, we are not going in this if block. As for what we're going to do in this if block, for now, we're just going to print something. I'm not going to do like any like toasts or anything. We're just going to do print statements, but you may want to do something like a toast that provides a GUI pop-up to a user or a player of the game, so that way they can see what's going on. And you may want to do something like tell your application to start running in offline mode or something, because you want to do an offline mode. But in this case, we're just going to go and print failed to initialize Steam. And then we can do something like a error code, or we'll do that in the next line. Oops. Print error code, or error reason actually, because we're not going to use the code number. We're going to go ahead and say %s, and that is %init result. And we had a verbal in this one. It's called verbal. That was just another key on the dictionary. If we go back and look, we don't have to do this, and you're not always going to get it. In fact, I don't think this is a super common thing to get. But it just says the string is, it's basically just text that explains why it failed. This is probably not something I would print out to a user anyway, because of the way it explains it. It's kind of technical. It says like IPC pipe, typically it refers to that, and I'm not even sure what that is. Probably some pipe that it uses to communicate between the SDK and the Steam client itself. Anyway, and then we're going to return. So if we return, that means nothing else in this function is going to run, no matter what. And that's how we know if we're getting to is initialized here. It's going to be true, because if it's anything other than successful, it's just not going to get there. So that's all set, and then the last thing we can do for initialization is set our Steam ID. So Steam ID is equal to, it's going to be steam.getSteamID. We see we have a few options, get like Steam ID 32, session Steam ID. Really the best thing you can do is go look up what these things are. If like you're like, should I use that other one? Steam ID 32, I'm not even sure why we would ever use this. In fact, it even requests the 64-bit version anyway, so I'm not sure what the 32-bit version is for, but anyway, we use get Steam ID. It returns the int version. There's really nothing super special about it. The reason why it's something we can get immediately is by the time we're here, this data is cached. There's a lot of cache data that Steam uses to make things faster, so it just kind of downloads it when you log into Steam and makes it available to the SDK immediately, as opposed to waiting for callbacks. There's a lot of things that you can't do that with, like creating a lobby. You can't cache that lobby creation because you don't know what exactly it wants to have, so you can't cache that. But things like getting Steam ID, you can. And then lastly, we're going to just print here, just make sure everything worked. So print initialized Steam. Print Steam ID %s, and that just stands for, I'm pretty sure it just stands for string variable. It's just a way to format strings. And then we can say Steam dot, or not Steam dot, excuse me, this one's just Steam ID. I was thinking of doing the other one, Steam or name or display name is fine. %s %, and that's going to be Steam dot get, what is it, friend persona name. Yeah, and you pass in the Steam ID there. So this one's a little strange, because it's like, well, why don't I have my name stored locally after we just talked about how Steam caches stuff? This one, I'm not entirely sure myself exactly why it's a little different like that, but if we go look at like friends, because that's where it's under, it looks like it's just ultimately a part of Steam community as opposed to like Steam lobby, or the user stuff, because your account runs by the Steam ID. However, all your friends stuff, like all the Steam community stuff, runs under the friends portion, wherever that went here. friends. So that's kind of my theory as to why. I'm not entirely sure. Ultimately, if you need something and you're not sure where to find it, you can search it here or Google, how to do it or what it is or what the name of it is, and it'll populate that, and then you can use that to find it here and then go from there. Generally, a lot of this is just see if you can do it. If you can't, just do it, look it up, test, troubleshoot, whatever, and then you'll end up getting it. But now this is done, we should have Steam initialized. Before we go any further, like trying to host a lobby, I actually just want to test and see that this works. So we're going to go back to Godot. I'm going to clear this out because that's old. We're going to go to our project settings and go to globals, and we're going to find our Steam client script and open. And then add. As long as you didn't get it a conflicting class name, like call it class_name Steam client in your script, you can add it here. And this needs to run before any other, if you have any other global Steam scripts, such as like, let's say you do like a Steam notification toast, or I don't know why you would put that in a global, but anything like that, this needs to run first. Otherwise, anything else Steam related is going to fail. You can have other things load before it, whatever else that might not be Steam related load before it, but if anything else Steam needs to be below it on this list. Okay, and then we can go ahead and actually just hit play. And we can see that everything was successful. Initialize Steam, it's got my Steam ID and my display name. That means that is working. Nothing groundbreaking there, probably done that 20,000 times already. The other thing I would like to do, let's go ahead and just exit Steam and make sure that it fails accordingly. I assume it will. There's nothing super special about what's going on here. And actually, I didn't do it just so we could see that it fails. I'd like to show something else here. So we do have the failed to initialize Steam with that error reason. Steam's probably not running. That is fine. I actually do want to change these over to push errors, and that's why I showed that. That data, those print statements can all get pushed into that sort of area, and things like this that we maybe want to know happened just kind of get mixed in with a bunch of other just normal print statements, and that can cause them to kind of get lost or maybe hard to find. And if we put them in push errors, we can hit play, and now they show up under the debugger error section, which, if it's erroring at one point and we see it here, it's a lot easier to see what's going on than it is to do it in the output. It even gave us the lines and everything, which not super important here, special, but that makes it easier to see all that. So I'm going to reopen my Steam now, so that way we can continue on as normal after this. But I'm going to do errors as push error from now on, or like error conditions that are successful as push errors. And then we can go ahead and actually just remove these print statements, so we know Steam is being initialized. So that's all set for the initialization. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to continue on to setting up a main menu that goes into a host lobby screen, and then actually host a lobby. So we're just going to keep it going all at once. So to do that, we're going to go under our main menu and add a child node. I'm going to do a VBox container. And then this, I'm just going to add a button. I'm going to duplicate that button a couple times. 1, 2. And then we're going to go ahead and change the text. So this one's going to be host game. Button 2 is going to be join game. And then this last one's going to be quit game. Okay. And we're going to rename all of these. So VBox is going to be main menu VBox. If I could type. First button is going to be, I'm just going to call it host game. Actually, yeah, because it doesn't need to have a button behind it, or a button. It doesn't have to have the name button behind it because it's not going to be accessed as unique. Join game, and then this quit button is just going to be quit button, quit game button. Just quit game. That's fine. So just going back to what I was talking about, just kind of glanced over. So when I say access is unique, if we right click access use unique name, when we access these things in code, so like get a reference to this VBox in code, you have two options to that. You can just, without access as unique, you can get the full path to it, and maybe the UID. I'm not even sure if you can use, yeah, no UID on these, and just access it that way. So you have to find it fully, or you can do access as unique, and it is literally just like a variable name. And when it is a variable name, it is a lot easier to access. It's almost exactly the same as just simply setting a variable. Still a slight variance, but anyway. The reason we're not accessing all the buttons as unique is because we're not doing anything to those. They get hooked up, they get their signal hooks up, I mean, but we don't actually like reference them in code directly like that. So I don't need to. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and make this in the middle though, so it looks a little better. If we go to the layout, we're going to do anchors in the middle, and then we're going to make it a little bigger. I don't like the size. We'll do like 200, and we'll do 120, I think, so it's a little above center. And then to recenter, we're just going to reselect the center here. Perfect. So I like that. It's center, but it's a little lifted. And then if we go into these signals, pressed connect. Oops, I forgot the most important step of hooking up signals, and that is having a script to hook them up to. So we want to go to our root script here in this case, because this is the way I'm going to set up this UI is basically like your first ever UI that you've ever made. I remember doing it this way when I first started, and I'm bringing it back for this tutorial, and that is we're going to set visibility on our containers. So basically the main menu script, when the host game button is clicked, it's going to say, hey, set my VBox container to invisible and set the host game container to visible. And that's how we're going to do the UI. So all the containers are basically going to be children of the main menu, and they're just going to have their visibilities modified. It's icky, but it's fine. It's really fast. It's responsive. I guess well, maybe not responsive, but it's fast and instant, and doesn't take a lot of overhead. So it's good for a tutorial series especially. We'll go to our main menu inspector, and under the script, we're just going to hit new script. I'm going to call it main menu capitalized, and we're going to select the folder as scripts and then create. Okay, now we can go back to our VBox, our buttons, signals, pressed, connect, and now it populates with a name, selects the script, and make sure that script is attached not to its container but to the overarching main menu container if you are following along. Okay, same thing, connect, and then quit game, pressed, connect. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this. I probably should have done this before I connected those, but it's fine. We're gonna call this host game VBox, and we're gonna delete the second two buttons. We can keep the first. We're gonna remove the signal though. Rename to start a host game, and then it's gonna be start game. And just so it's easier to see, not that it's particularly difficult to see, but we're going to hide the main menu box for the moment. And host game VBox is already accessed as unique because it's just a copy of the main menu VBox. As for the buttons here, the reason I deleted them is because we're not using a bunch of buttons here. We're going to use technically buttons. They're technically buttons, so that's fair, but they're different types of controls. It's going to be drop downs in a text box. So we're going to do 3 settings, and I'm going to put it down here in the Steam client. So rewrite, there's nothing to rewrite there. Get that shit off my screen. So in here we're going to use so game lobby settings 1. Stop doing that. 1 is going to be the privacy, and that's going to be of private, friends only, or public. And then 2 is going to be, what is that? The max players, or max players in the lobby. And then 3 is, well, we'll finish this. This is going to be a game mode in my case. 3rd is optional. You don't have to do the 3rd. You can do something else for the 3rd if you like. The first 2 are technically not optional, or I guess they are, but you'll have to have something pass through. So let's go look at the function real quick here that we're going to be using. So we're looking for a way to create a lobby. If you Google it, you're going to find that it's create lobby, and that is under matchmaking. We're not going to go searching through the billion different things that it could be under, like these other possible like matches that kind of look like they might have it. Under create lobby here, and it takes two things. We see they don't have default parameters, so we do have to pass something: a lobby type and max members. So lobby type is the lobby type enum. We'll go to it in a second. So it's just an indicating what the privacy is. So the type and visibility, and then max members is how many people can be in that lobby. It cannot be above 250. And we can see it returns void, so it can't be set to equal to anything. It's just simply a function that runs, and then it calls some callbacks, which we're going to talk about later once we actually do create the lobby. So looking at the enum real quick, it's just a 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, so 5 options. The only 3 we care about are private, friends only, and public. Invisible and private unique are not something we use, and then you can't even do a private unique from this because it's from the web API, which is not your app that is downloaded on the player's machine. That would be a completely separate thing that is running that accesses the web API. For example, if you have like a server, like a dedicated server that provides like item drops, sort of like how Counter-Strike works, their dedicated servers can drop or can do, well, used to be doing weekly or drops randomly throughout the game. Now it's weekly drops, but you get the point. That would be where the web API is accessed from. Anyway, so these two are required, and that's why we're doing those. I'm doing the third one because I want to show how to do a non-built-in setting when you're setting up the game, and I just happen to choose game mode. You can do whatever you want. You can do nothing or a different setting. As far as it's concerned, if we look at how we're going to do it, so it's going to be through set lobby data. It's literally just 2 strings, a key and a value, so basically just a dictionary. So you can do it this way, or well, you're going to do it this way, so you can literally do it now, do it later, not do it at all. It doesn't matter. So anyway, that's fine. Those are going to be what we do. So to do that, we're going to have a child node here. I happen to know it's an option button, but if you're like, well, what's the drop down? You can just type it in and it matches here. Option button is actually a drop down. And this one is going to be the privacy dropdown, and we don't need to access it as unique because we don't care about actually no, we don't need to hook up a signal. We do need to access it as unique because we don't care what happens when it changes, but we are going to access the value of it. And then the items, we want 3 items. So the first one is going to be private, the second one is going to be friends only, and then the third one is going to be public. And if we set the default to, let's do public. I'm going to do public because that ensures that it always populates in the lobby list, which I don't I don't want to have to like go in every time I'm playing around and change it to public. So I'm going to leave it to public by default, but you can do whatever you want there. And the reason I'm doing this order is it maps directly to the enum. So if we go back to the enum here, lobby type, so 0 is private, 1 is friends only, 2 is public. If we do it something different, which you technically can, you can do like public, private, friends only instead, so have it kind of shift around in a circle once. You have to basically map that to what Steam actually wants, because they're not going to change. It's not going to change for you. You can also just change the ID here if you really want to, so that way you can have it correct, but keeping it simple, we've got it mapped directly to it. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this privacy dropdown. We're going to call it mode dropdown, and it's already accessed as unique. We're going to get rid of the extra option, and I'm just going to do PvP and PvE, and by golly, it's defaulted to PvE, so that's fine. And then we're going to do a line edit, and this is going to be where we have the what do you say, the max players inputted. We're going to have this access as unique as well, and we're going to name it max players line edit. And then we can set a text by default, so we'll do like 4, and then placeholder text, max players. We can see with a default text of 4, placeholder is kind of irrelevant, and you may not really see right away what this is for. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a label. This is just for visual purposes. It doesn't do anything. We don't even have to do it. Max players label. And then we'll just give it some text, max players. So that way we can see what it's for. And then for this one, its access is unique because we need to get the value, but we also want to hook up signals for it. So we're going to go ahead and just go bottom to top signals. The ones that I care about are going to be text submitted, connect, and then focus exited. And what I'm going to be doing with this, because there's a couple ways you can do this, I'm taking probably the slightly lengthier approach, even though it's not super lengthy, of doing validation checking that the user can see, as opposed to doing it on the back end and just modifying something as the lobby hosted. So on text submitted, so if we like hit enter or something, then whatever it is, if it's wrong, we're going to correct it. If it's correct, it's fine. And then if we exit focus, so if we don't commit the text but we go and hit start game, or we hit tab or something, go to a different, we move our like focus cursor somewhere else, it'll do that same validation check. The reason you don't do that on text changed, which would make sense, that was my initial instinct, and in fact when I first did this ever, I think I did it on text changed, and you have a single character. If you change that character, let's say we change it down to nothing, you could do a guard against that and say, okay, nothing, just ignore it, wait for the next thing. Or if you don't do that and you just kind of say, okay, we're going to follow the same rules, you remove it and surprise, it's seeing nothing, so it sticks on one in there for you, which is not good for the user because you can't really get it down lower without with it like that. So submitted and exit is fine. You can ignore it and validate on start game pushed, so you don't have to do any of this, but it's not a lot of work, so we're going to do it that way. And then we can go ahead and do start host game signal pressed, because we want to host game on that. So that's it. Let me just double check. Good. Signals, perfect. Everything looks good. Okay, so now we can go to code. I'm going to go ahead and make this invisible, make this visible. And in the main menu, we can just go ahead and get rid of process because we're not going to use it. And start host game, I kind of like at the top there. Quit game, let's go ahead and just get that out of the way because it's easy. Get tree dot get, or not dot get anything, dot quit. Yeah, I'll talk about the tree in a minute. That's fine. So that's good. We're gonna skip start host game at the moment on max players line edit, and then these other ones we're gonna go ahead and do. I'm actually going to put these are fine actually. Let's go ahead and create our variables here so we can actually do them. So we're gonna do @onReadies. We typically do onReadies for UI elements that you're gonna access. You don't know when you're gonna access them. It could be on the first frame, it could be later, just depending on what happened. So if it could be first frame, then we want to go ahead and do them here. Otherwise, for something like the drop downs, they don't need to be @onReady because there's no way they're going to be first frame. Anyway, so we do @onReady var, and then I'm going to say main menu vbox is equal to or colon of type control equal to % main menu vbox. And this is why we do access as unique, because we can literally just do this. It's almost the same as assigning a normal variable, just with that extra %. Something to note here on it being set to of type control. A vbox is a subclass of control, so that means we can do control or anything above it. Now when you assign something a type and assign a variable type, you only have access to things at that level of inheritance or higher. So we can't access VBox specific things on the main menu VBox variable here, this particular one. We could probably cast it to a VBox, I'm not entirely sure how to off the top of my head, and get access to those if we wanted to, but we can't at the moment off this variable alone. So if we think we're going to need something VBox specific, such as, I don't actually know what would be VBox specific at this point. Maybe like, maybe get the children of it or something, I don't really know. We would instead want to set this to type VBox container. And then we have access to it that way. It's just easier. This isn't like Unreal where when you load that where you load that object's type, you create a lot of overhead based on that object, or based on that class. So there's not really a performance difference here. So honestly, it's really just going to be based on what do you think you're going to need. Do you need it to be a VBox or do you need it to be a control? You can always lower the level. It's a lot more difficult to higher the level if you ever want to. You really should never need to raise it. But just something to note here in case you ever run into issues with it. And we're going to do the same thing for the lobby. Var lobby menu VBox equals lobby menu, or not lobby, excuse me, host game. I'm going ahead of myself. Host game VBox. Okay, now we have access to those, and what we can say is just we can access their what do you say, their elements or wow, it's time to go to bed. Properties directly now. So the join game host, actually we're not going to do anything on join game. On host game pressed, we can say main menu VBox dot visible equals false, and then host game or host menu VBox dot visible equals true. Super simple. I think, was there a, oh, we didn't do a back button. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do a back button real quick. So we'll just really quickly just make sure it looks normal. Should be fine. Rename host game back button, or host menu back button. There we go. And we're gonna disconnect the signal and create a new one. Just so we can go back to the main menu if we want to, for testing, whatever. And then here, we can just, or not cut, copy and paste, and then reverse. What happened there? There we go. Just a real quick, make sure everything is successful. Host, back, quit. Cool. Fun stuff done. Make sure I have a few extra lines here. I always like to, because if you collapse, you can't like create another line without uncollapsing. So that's fine. We're gonna skip this one for now. To do implement. Oh no, implement. Okay, this is fine. Okay, let's go ahead and do the real quick, something is missing here. So this is fine. Where is our other one of these? No, no, no. We're missing one of our signals here. Where did this go? Focus exited. We're just gonna disconnect and connect. I may have deleted it on accident. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Go to method. Yeah, it doesn't exist. We'll just copy it and we'll just stick it in there manually. That's weird. I've never had that happen. We can even follow the convention fully void. I might start doing this on the functions I make. If they, I'll probably do them on if they return something. If they don't, I'm not going to probably. Void just means it's not equal to anything. It doesn't have a return value. So it's just a nothing. It does stuff. It doesn't return anything. Okay. So, where? How'd it get down here? Okay. You motherfucker. It's trolling me, I swear. I must have, I'm tired, clearly. We're going to stick this next to the other one. They actually have the same logic. It's nothing different. So basically, we're going to take the, if the string of, we'll say new text in here, is, so not the string of it, excuse me. If the int of new text is less than or equal to 0, we need to get a on ready reference to this, but basically just a real quick int casting, because int casting is a fun little topic when you're dealing with strings. The way Godot handles it is if you have a a string here with, like, let's say a mix of 1, an x, and a 2, it's going to return a value of 12, so it gets rid of this. And I think that's actually one of the cases covered here. It doesn't. I don't know if it necessarily explains it, but that's fine. So it just gets rid of the string string portions, and just whatever number is left is there. If you have it as just text, it returns a 0, and then just numbers is just numbers, so that's fine. So if it's anything other than a number, or it is less than 1, it is going to give us a 1. We're going to have it turn it back into a 1. Really quickly, we need to make this accessible though. Because we don't want to continually be trying to set up a variable, we're just going to put it up here. Max players line edit is equal to, in this case, and this is actually a better example than the VBox container, we wouldn't want to do control here because then we couldn't get access to the .text. So we actually do want to do a line edit is equal to max players line edit. Okay, and then here we can just say .text equals to string 1. It can't be an int of 1 because it is looking for a string, and it doesn't care that it could be cast to a string. So that's fine. And then otherwise, if the int of new text is greater than or equal to, or we could just say greater than, I'm going to temporarily hard-code a value, but we're not going to leave it hard-coded. We'll say 8. We can do the same thing. Text is equal to 8. So you generally want to avoid hard coding things like this. Pretty much anything if it can be avoided, and instead assign it to something like a const or a variable, sort of like how enums work. Like the enums are just constants that are attached to variable names. That way, if you ever need to change it, you don't have to go 20 different places in the code base and change it. You just change it there. Additionally, it's again more verbose. Like, what is 8? Where did 8 come from? We know it's what we want the max players to be, but in this case, but in some places it could be a little more ambiguous. So not a great example here, but that's fine. This is a lobby setting, so I'm comfortable putting it in the Steam client, but you may want to have a different, like, const file or something like that. So instead of mixing it in with, you know, the logic, you have a place where you store your consts. In this case, I'm just going to stick it in Steam client. So we go up here. We could have like a const section, or this is going to be like a lobby section. Const max players allowed is of type int equal to 8. I'll do 8. You can do whatever you want there. You don't have to do 8. That's going to be now, instead of going to steam dot something, we're going to go steam client dot max players allowed. I try to keep this separate from just simply saying max players, because max players is what what we're setting now. Max players could be 4, but technically it could be up to 8 in our example. So I want to try and denote that by having that extra verb there, or I guess that is a verb. Anyway, so that's fine. Is equal to that. So if it's greater than that, it sets it equal to that. And this is fine now. We can actually just go ahead and copy this. I know we could say dry, put this in a function, but it's really simple enough that I do not care. And then for this, we just need to say change the new text, because new text is a parameter here. It's only accessible locally inside of this function. It's not accessible here. We can just do this. And in fact, this works on both of them. We could just copy and paste this back and it would work, but I don't care. We're not going to go in and test it right now. We're going to test it when we go to host, so we can get that done, because the hosting's really easy. So that's it for those. The next thing to do is to actually get the values from everything and put it inside of the create game function. So to do that, we're going to do vars for the drop down boxes. So var privacy drop down. Actually, we're not even going to do we'll do privacy. Privacy, we'll just do privacy. Shit, why not? Is of type int, and that is equal to it's going to be straight up the close out of this. Privacy dropdown, %privacy dropdown, dot selected ID, get selected ID. Cool. It's gonna give us that drop or that little squiggly because it's unused. We can ignore, and then we're gonna do var. What was it? Mode dropdown or mode is of type. We're gonna do. It can. We'll do string. String is capital in this in Godot. That's gonna be mode dropdown dot get selected ID. And the only reason I'm getting it as a string here as opposed to an int is because the set game lobby whatever is expecting a string, and that's whatever, just pass it through that way the way it wants. So we're just gonna have it a string here. We don't need to worry about it being an int or not. We can always convert it back if we need to, but for now it's fine. And then those are set, so we can literally just say steam dot create lobby, and then the first one is going to be the privacy. The second one is going to be max players line edit dot text, and it's going to be the int of that. Okay. And then that's actually it for creating the lobby. Literally, we don't do anything else with it. The lobby's created at this point. Well, not technically created at this point, but we don't need to send any other code to Steam for it to be created. We need to, for the mode though, tell our Steam client that we are going to want to set this setting. And the way that this works is because we're going to wait for the callback and we don't want Steam client to be intertwined with main menu. All we care about is that main menu, or that it sets the setting, but we don't want it to know about main menu. Is we're going to set a pending variable here. Well, a pending variable, it's a variable that's waiting for something to happen. It's just a normal variable, and main menu is going to populate it, and then Steam client's going to be listening for the callback from Steam, and then the Steam client's going to use that variable once it's done and then depopulate it. It never knows about main menu. It keeps it separate so that way if main menu has some changes, Steam client doesn't break. Or if we want to use the Steam client somewhere else, it still doesn't break. It just works. It's just doing its own thing. It's fine to have something rely on something else, so main menu be reliant on Steam client. It is not fine to have main menu be relying on Steam client and Steam client to rely back on main menu. Circular references and dependency is probably one of the most ickiest things you can do in coding. It seems like you should be able to do that, you should be allowed to do that, but you really don't want to be doing that. That means you're probably doing something wrong. So I'm going to leave it in this little lobby section. We can do like lobby stuff. And this one's going to just be a var underscore pending lobby data underscore data. Is of type dictionary dictation dictionary equals to empty dictionary. And we're doing underscore because we don't want to be accessing it outside of this particular file or out of this particular script. The underscore is just the convention, and it's a hint. It doesn't really enforce anything, but it's a good way to know or keep yourself accountable. Hey, I shouldn't be accessing this. It doesn't pop up in like searches, like the little drop down or a little like menu with hints saying what you might be wanting, unless you start with the underscore. So it keeps it nice and out of the way, unless you are specifically intending to use it. And then in here, to tell it that we want to modify it, we can say func. We'll say add pending lobby data, and we're gonna do it just like how Steam does it. So key string value string, and those are capital, excuse me, I always do that. And for now it's just going to be a simple pending lobby data dot set key value. So it's not going to do any like validation checks or do anything else. It's just going to set it, and that populates the dictionary with that value or that key value pair. So now we can go back to our main menu, say Steam client dot add really I just said it didn't do that. I guess it does. I'm mistaken, excuse me. But add pending lobby data, and it's going to be So the first one's going to be a hard-coded one, just the key for it. It's going to be mode, and then the value is going to be mode, and that's fine. So excuse me for being wrong on that. So it still pops up on the immediate thing there, but it's an indication that it shouldn't be selected. And you'll see that pretty much everywhere. Like ready, we shouldn't be calling ready from our code. It really shouldn't be. We shouldn't also be calling process from our code, which is why they're prepended with the underscores. But anyway, that's fine. Now we have that pending lobby data that will be set, or well, it's not set yet, and we have to code it, but it's going to be set when we after we create the lobby. Let's go back to the documentation real quick so we can see what we need to do next. Create lobby here, and we see it triggers 3 things. It triggers all 3: lobby created, lobby joined, and lobby data update. So that means we got to be a little careful here. We don't want to say, okay, we created this lobby, let's go ahead and create a lobby menu screen, and then oops, I must have hit something. I was just plugging in my headset because it was gonna die soon. Where did we go? Okay. So we don't want to like create the lobby screen here, and then when players join, it's creating the lobby, but it's also creating a second one for the host. As we can see here, a lobby join callback will also be received once the local user is joining their own lobby. So we got to be careful. And then lobby data update we'll talk about later, probably not even in this video. So the 2 we care about are the lobby created and lobby joined. And we're going to follow a fairly straightforward pattern where we use the callbacks and then emit our own signals to continue at the point that we want to continue. So if we go to Steam client, this is where we're going to be hooking up those callbacks. Under ready, actually we're not going to do them under ready, we're going to do them in their own little function and just call it. So func connect Steam callbacks, oops, pass. And then after Steam is initialized and we have our Steam ID, we're going to call connect Steam callbacks. Okay. And then the way you do it is you just type in Steam dot callback name, so lobby created dot connect, and then inside here you pass in the name without parentheses of the function that is going to fire when that callback fires. So in this case, we're going to do func, we do an underscore for this because this is a callback only call. Func underscore on lobby created, pass, and then we're going to do one more, func on lobby joined, pass. And if we go ahead and type in the connect here on lobby created, and we can actually go ahead and just do the lobby joined one as well, why not? Okay, so that will connect them and force them to run when those callbacks run. However, if we hover over the lobby created and lobby joined, we get some parameters. We get these connect and lobby ID. This is one way to see what we need to pass into our function as parameters. We could literally just copy this over. And then for lobby joined, same thing. However, the documentation is going to be a little nicer in this case for what it does. So we click on lobby created. These 2 are pretty straightforward. We're looking for an enum and an int. We're literally just looking for 2 ints to keep it simple. For the other one, for lobby joined, we can see here that like permissions is unused, always 0. That might be something that gets a little annoying if you didn't know to look for it, to see that. Locked, like what is locked? Like only invited users can join. Awesome. So they can still be invited and joined, but it's locked. What? It's good to look at the documentation and see exactly what these things mean, as opposed to just like going based off of intuition. So pulling these in, we know we need an int bool, and then an enum, which is just another int for us, and that's fine. So just keep that in mind. If you don't add those parameters in, it's going to error out. You can not use them, you don't have to use them, but you want to add them in otherwise to prevent that error. And because we know permissions is not used, we're going to underscore it. We also don't end up using locked either. Okay, why are these? Oh yeah, because we're not using any of them. Okay, And one last thing that I forgot to do, because I kind of just kept going with the flow, is we got to actually listen for callbacks instead of waiting for it to fail on us. So in the process of Steam client, we want to do steam.run_callbacks. So the way callbacks work normally, so like if you're just like listening for call, or if you just have a callback, like you connect the signal to an emitter, you don't have to run anything, it just works. However, with Steam, because it's not like a like just all running local Godot to listen to callbacks, I'm assuming it's querying the SDK every frame and saying, hey, did a callback run? And if it did, it passes it through. If we don't run callbacks and we try and hook everything up, everything will look like it's working fine, but no callbacks will actually run. So we need to run callbacks on process. You don't want to run them any slower or anywhere else. We want them in on the process function. Moving on, back to lobby created. So we're not doing any like weird like UI creation or anything in the Steam client. We are simply going to set some variables or do some stuff or not do anything and then emit a signal if we do that. As far as our UI is concerned, if something fails, so let's say we created the lobby but the connect int is a failure and we don't have a lobby ID, the UI is not even going to know that this happened, and it's just going to still be at the main menu as if you could like tell it to populate like a toast or something, but generally speaking, it's not going to even try to load the lobby while we're waiting for it. So on lobby created, we're going to go ahead and do an if connect. Let's go back and look at connect is a result enum. So just a brief touch on the result enum. That's going to bring us back to main, I believe. And it's a big long enum with like 121 options, 131 options, excuse me. And we're only looking for these. The only one we're going to do, we're going to follow a similar pattern. If you want to provide specific error messages, you can by checking for the specific cases. You can do a case. I'm just going to do a if not result okay. So if and we're actually going to go ahead and do result here because connect will give us a shadow error. If result is not equal to steam dot result okay, print failed to create Steam lobby, and then I think we just go ahead and return here. There's nothing else that we need to do, and that's it. If it did not fail, we're gonna want, we actually don't have it, I forgot we need that here. We're gonna go ahead and set our lobby ID, or not lobby ID, excuse me, current lobby ID is an int equal to 0. This is gonna be something that changes, when we join lobbies and stuff like that. So I like current lobby ID just in case like we have lobby ID somewhere else. That is not the source of truth. This is, and it is our current lobby ID. Current, so if we're here, we know we are successful, equals lobby ID, and then we're gonna do a signal here. So we're gonna we'll do a signal lobby created. I don't think we actually do anything with this particular signal in this series, but this is something to just have in case you do need it. Lobby created dot emit. And we're not putting anything through, passing anything through. We could pass like the lobby ID through. So like we could do like lobby ID int and then pass the current lobby ID in. That's fine. It's not really necessary because we can get it through, if we have access to the signal anyway, we can get it through here, but it's fine. We're gonna do basically the same pattern for on lobby joined. With the response and then the lobby int. So actually we can do, because response is going to be the same, right? Or no, it's going to be a little different. Let's see. So we'll go back to create lobby, lobby joined. So lobby ID is fine. We're going to ignore locked for now. We're probably not going to do anything with it in this series. And then response. So it's either going to be chat room enter response success or chat room enter response error. So we're going to change response to result and actually just go ahead and copy this. And then result ponce, res result ponce. And this is not going to be result okay. This is going to be chat room enter response success. Okay, so if it's not a success, failed to join Steam lobby, and then right, lobby is lobby ID. Yeah, it's just lobby here for whatever reason. So that's fine. And then we're going to do a similar signal. Lobby joined. Dot emit. And that's current lobby ID. Okay, and I don't think we're going to use them when we hook this up to the main menu saying, hey, we joined, create the lobby screen. We're not going to use the lobby ID, I don't think, so it's probably a little redundant, but that's fine. So basically this will say, hey, if we joined the lobby or created the lobby, we're going to go ahead and do this, and then emit the signal. The pattern's the exact same because they're just doing the exact same thing. Maybe on one we want to do something else versus the other, but for now there's nothing else we need to do. For example, on lobby created only gets called on the host, so we might want to say bool var is lobby host, bool equals false, and then in here say on lobby created equals true. Something like that. I'll actually just leave that in there for now. Who knows? Maybe we don't use that. Maybe we do. But that can tell us to do something different if we're the host as opposed to not the host. So like when we're in the lobby, we can query, hey, are we the host? You can also get that from Steam, if I'm not mistaken. You can query the SDK for that information. Probably. Just curious if it is on here. Get lobby owner. Yeah, here it is. Returns the current lobby owner. You must be a member of the lobby to access this one. There's always one. If the current owner leaves, then someone else automatically picks it, or it automatically picks someone else. That would be interesting to implement. I haven't implemented that. If you're still here, if you're reading or listening at this point, let me know if you want to, if you want that done. A sort of lobby migration while in lobby. I hadn't even considered trying to do a lobby migration. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, this is fine. Let's go ahead and create our lobby screen, and then we're going to load it up. This takes all of 10 minutes. We're pretty much done. We're right there. Actually, let's test to make sure it works. Host game, start. I forgot we need to actually, I'll say print joined a lobby. There we go. Let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, perfect. So we know it's working. Just wanted to make sure nothing was broken at this point. I didn't expect anything to be, but you never know. Okay, so go ahead and do a new scene. We'll call it a user interface scene, lobby, and that should be in scenes. Perfect. And we're just gonna do child node. We're gonna do like a panel, I think it's called. Yeah, panel. I think we'll just do a normal panel. I think that's fine. And layout, I always like to do anchored. It's just nicer. We'll do like 200. Oops, 250. I think 250 is nice by like 70. Oof, maybe 300. And then we'll do top right. And then the position. Oops. Here it is. Do 802. And then 50. There we go. Should be 50 off in both directions, and that gives us a nice little, we'll just rename this to local player panel. Probably not going to do anything with it, like just like to have it named, and then we'll add like a label under it. And this will be the local player name label, and we'll access that as unique. And this one will say player name ... And as far as its anchoring, it should be centered, and we're gonna make it a little bigger. Theme overrides, font sizes, we'll give it like a 24, I think, because I don't have a super big username, so it should be fine. And I think that's fine. Center, right? Yeah, center is fine. And then we're gonna go ahead and just duplicate this, and we're gonna call it lobby ID panel, and then rename this to lobby ID label. Okay, and then we're gonna put in the bottom left. I think that's like a normal place to put that. So we'll just do bottom left. We'll change the text real quick to lobby ID. But the panel, I want to bring 50 off in both directions again. Where is, here we go. So the position X should be 50, and then it should be 528, I guess, in this case. So that works. That really doesn't feel centered now, does it? This one does because it fits up the entire thing. Here we go. Center. And for lobby ID, center. Perfect. Okay. So now we can go in and let's add a script here. We're not gonna, we'll mess with the script in a second, but I just want to have it created. Lobby. Okay. Now we can go back to our code here in the main menu, and we're going to hook up our signal. So the only one I really care about here is the join. So we're gonna say Steam client dot lobby join dot connect, and we're gonna have to give a new function here at the bottom. Func on lobby joined. We'll say underscore UI. That way it's not super ambiguous, and it's gonna have to take that lobby ID int, even though we're not going to use it, I don't think. Maybe we do. No, we don't. We for sure don't. And then we say on lobby joined UI. There we go, and that keeps it kind of separate and known that this is a UI type of function that happens. And the first thing we're going to do is make a var lobby scene. That's going to be of type resource, and that is equal to a load of the lobby scene file. And lobby got moved here. I'm gonna move it over to scripts. Hopefully that just works. Sometimes it doesn't. But to get this, so that you have two ways you can do it. The old way is to copy the path and use the path. The newer way is the UID, and we can just use the UID. The reason the UID is better is you can move the scene file and the UID will still work. That is the best benefit, in my opinion, to it. If you ever want to restructure your project, let's say you start a project out like this and you just kind of put everything willy-nilly wherever you want. It starts getting bigger and you're like, wait a second, I need to organize this better because this project is big and I actually want to do something with it. Surprise, you got to fix all those pathings. Now we're using UID, so we don't have to deal with the paths. So that's the lobby scene, and then we need to instantiate it. So we're gonna say if lobby scene, or yeah, if not lobby scene, we can say print failed to load lobby scene. Probably need to verify files or something, I don't know, something stupid like that. And then return. So at this point we successfully created the lobby. We're not in one though, or well, we're in one now. We probably want to destroy lobby, so we could say something like to do destroy lobby in Steam SDK, or leave lobby in Steam SDK, something like that maybe. And then if it is not, or if it is loaded, we're fine. We can say lobby scene dot instantiate. And that is a variant, so it does return an object. That's going to be our lobby object. So var lobby equals, and that is of type control, is equal to lobby scene dot instantiate. oh yeah, we'll say lobby pack, because lobby scene is kind of wrong. This will be the lobby scene. Okay, and then same thing if not lobby scene. Print failed to load. Failed to instantiate, we'll say. And that's fine. We'll do the same to do whatever, because we still need to do the same thing. And then that's it. And then now at this point we need to add the lobby to the root of the tree, and then destroy the main menu itself, because at this point we don't need the main menu listening for callbacks or anything once we're in the lobby. The lobby can if it needs to. And to do that, we're going to say get tree dot get root dot add child. It's going to be the lobby scene. And really quickly, if we go and look at so if we like open the main menu here, if we hit play, I don't know, sorry if you can hear the train in the background, don't care, didn't ask. If we hit play and we hit remote over here, we can see what the lobby, or what, not the lobby, the scene tree looks like. So what this tree is just everything in the, that Godot engine could see. So the root is this whole thing is the tree. We got root, and we're gonna add lobby to root, and then we're gonna delete main menu. So that's all we're gonna do. So that's a good way to look at it. If you're from Unity, that may help a lot with like managing your game objects and things like that, because in a way it works a lot like Unity, with like how you add and remove things from it. And then we can actually go ahead and just say queue free. We shouldn't need to do a deferred call or anything. Queue free is a one that leaves it at the end of the frame. It's safe to call multiple times, but the node is not deleted instantly, and it can be still accessed before deletion. So it just waits until it's, I guess, yeah, all of the deferred calls are finished. So it waits until it's safe to delete it. But now this just adds the lobby scene. So theoretically right now we have a working join that will load us into the lobby UI. Now we just need to code the lobbies. So in here, we're going to do our @onReadies. This is nothing groundbreaking. We've done this multiple times already. Go back to lobby. Local player name. Player name label is ftype label equal to % local player name label, and then lobby ID label is equal to % lobby ID label. I forgot to make that access as unique. That's weird. I thought I copied and... Oh, what the heck? Not sure what ended up happening there. Lobby ID label. It's good. And then we can say on ready. We can go to the process for now. On ready, local player name label dot text is equal to steam dot get friend persona name. Oops. That's going to be steam client dot steam ID, and then lobby ID label dot text is equal to steam client dot current lobby ID, and it's gonna be the string of that. I think I want to make a slight modification to sort of follow our current working patterns instead of directly accessing current lobby ID, because we could really screw something up if we mess with that and we need it. We're gonna say func get current lobby ID. That's going to return an int, return current lobby ID. I'm actually going to put an underscore in front of it, so we'll do that and change it over here, and then find and replace. Oh shoot, well, we'll just do it this way. Probably not the right way to do it. Well, okay, I know for a fact it's not the right way to do it, but this is fine because it's early on. So just want to make it underscored because we don't want to be setting it outside of that. We can get it. We could even do like get and set functions for it, but for now this is fine. This way we don't accidentally break anything. Get current lobby ID, or especially later on after we forget, oh, we don't want to be modifying this way. It kind of helps us hold ourselves accountable. So now we should be able to hit play, host game, and then we'll do something like, let's just make sure this works. So if he's okay, cool, we get 5. Cool. So now we've got our name populated in the top right, lobby ID in the bottom left. The only thing that we haven't done, I was almost going to skip this, I almost forgot, is we actually need to set that pending lobby data. On main menu here, or not main menu, Steam client, let's see here, lobby joined, we'll do it in lobby created. We don't want to be calling this in lobby joined. This is actually one of those unique cases where we want to be only in lobby created, because if you're a client, you're not setting this lobby data on join. In fact, you wouldn't call this at all. So let's go back to the documentation real quick. This is the last thing we're doing for sure, and that is going to be set lobby data, and we just say the lobby ID and a key and value pair. I think what we're gonna do is, let's see here. So we only have one key value pair. However, we are going to, because we could have multiple, we're gonna go ahead and just loop through them. So we're gonna say for key in, and it's gonna be our pending lobby data dot keys. We're gonna say steam dot set lobby data, and it's going to be key and pending lobby data key. Oh, yep, it's not quite that. We need one more. Right before that, it's gonna take our lobby ID. We'll just do the parameterized version because it's calling that before that. And this is gonna loop through each of the keys in the pending lobby data and set them. What we're gonna do, actually, let me just, this is part of it, so I'm fine doing it. Set pending lobby data. And I think we're gonna go ahead and make this yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and set it as a internal. I guess I'll refer to those as internal, and the reason for that is I don't think we should have anything else calling that. Maybe we should. No, we'll undo it now. If I think we're not gonna use it later, then I'll get rid of it. And instead we're gonna do this here. And it's not going to do lobby ID from here. It's going to do current lobby ID. So we need to be able to set that first. So instead of doing it beforehand, we're going to have to do it after. And the reason why I wanted to make this a function is because after we do it, we're going to say pending lobby data dot clear. We're going to depopulate it after the fact, so that way it is empty. Okay, and then I just want to really quickly test or be able to show that it's working. So we're going to go ahead and print, and that's going to be steam dot, what is it, get lobby data. And then let's just see here, 2, it's looking for the lobby ID and then the key. We can say, we could probably put that in a variable up here. Say var the lobby ID int equals 0, and then That way we have it, and then we could just say string of this, and then here, and then the key is going to be mode. We're going to print it. Mode setting. There we go. Okay, so that should be it. Let's go ahead and play, make sure that it's set that and everything. Play, host, start. Mode setting is 1, and it was set to, I think it defaults to 1, right? Go to mode drop down, it defaults to 1. Perfect. Okay, so that's all set, and mode wouldn't be in there at all if we didn't set it. So we are good to go. That's it for this one. I'm sorry it was a long one. Please let me know if you prefer the longer ones in this series, or if you prefer shorter ones, so like a single topic for a video. This one was kind of multiple, so it's longer than the other ones would be anyway. I assume from this point on, the longest the video would be is no longer than an hour. And then if we do break them up, it'd be more like 20-minute videos as opposed to 40-minute videos. So just let me know. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.